Warning, this tank is going to self-destruct in T-minus 3, 2, 1. Hello everyone, welcome to Amrazul TV. Here is a video of my Red Sea Reefer 250 which has been running for about 4 years now. The Red Sea Reefer was my first reef tank and I made a few design mistakes when I was setting it up. One mistake that I did when I set up the tank was I made the structure of the rock really high. It was 3/4 of the way up. And I made the mistake of trying to make an impressive aquascape with the rock itself and not necessarily with the corals. The high aquascape made it difficult to light the corals appropriately, and it also impeded flow. Another mistake I did was not giving a lot of thought to how I was going to mount the corals. I would put a frag permanently on a rock, and I often gave each frag a lot of space. This meant that I couldn't keep a lot of different species of Acropora, and while it resulted in very large colonies, I think the palette of the tank was a little bit limited. It also made maintenance of the tank very difficult because I couldn't take out the colonies to frag them, and I couldn't move the colonies if one colony was unhappy. And finally, I think this tank peaked at 3 years, which is the video that we're looking at now. After that, and after watching my 1-inch frags go into these large colonies, I lost a bit of interest and this resulted in some neglect. So over the past year, I've been thinking a lot about upgrading. And I realized that I actually don't have to upgrade to start over. I just need to start over. So today's video is gonna show you my plan for transforming the tank from the current vision, the vision that you've seen for the past 3 years, into a newer vision, one that I think will allow me to keep more SPS and keep them happier by providing them better light and better flow, and also a newer aquascape that will allow me to maintain the tank and maintain the colonies a lot easier. So let's go ahead and show you the new aquascape and the new collection of SPS that I purchased for my tank, and I'll tell you a little bit about my new reefing goal and what I plan to accomplish with this system. A major design element that I wanted to achieve for the new aquascape is modularity. Essentially the ability to take out frags and move them in the rockwork if I need to, and also once these frags get larger and become colonies, I want to be able to have the ability to remove them from the rockwork and frag them easily. Here is a picture of the boulder that I redid about 6 months ago, and essentially I wanted to have something similar like this but perhaps a little bit better and easier to manage. For my new center boulder, I chose 4 pieces of macro dry rock. These were cut to be flat on the bottom, and I found this really useful. The 2 bits on the bottom have the flat side down, and that makes a very sturdy base, and the 2 rocks on the top have the flat side up, and that I think makes a really nice shelf for SPS. And there's a really nice cave in the middle here that fish could hide through and swim through. What I typically did before that was a mistake is I would assemble the rockwork in the tank and it was just never sturdy. But here I really took my time. I put several pieces of acrylic rod through the rockwork and I used putty and glue, and this makes for a very sturdy structure that I don't think is going to shift on me in the tank. And then for extra stability, I mounted the whole thing on Ecrate, so that way I don't have to worry about any of the rocks kind of shifting from the flow in my SPS tank. Once I was happy with the structure, I used a 3/8 concrete drill bit to make 6 holes in the top shelf. So this will allow me to mount 6 different SPS frags on the top here using my kind of custom made frag plugs, a trick that I learned from watching Abe from Coral Euphoria. Thanks, Abe. To make these custom SPS frag plugs, I took a reciprocating saw and I sliced a piece of dry rock into about 1/4 inch thick pieces. Then I glued an acrylic rod to the bottom of each piece. I think this is a really great way to mount your corals. If you pre-drilled your rockwork, you could now move your colonies and frags anywhere you want, and you could easily take out a colony to frag it. Here's what the aquascape looks like now. Big change, eh? You'll notice that I got rid of a lot of my really large Acropora colonies, including that beautiful Pacman colony that was sitting on the sand bed. The rockwork is now 1/3 of the way up, and I think I'm getting much better flow side to side and front to back. One thing that I really like about this new setup is there's a lot of caves and crevices and swim throughs. One issue that I had with my old Aquascape is that there wasn't a lot of room for kind of fish to hide and to sleep at night, and I think this Aquascape is much more fish friendly. Oh yes, I've also got another clam. I've tried a clam before and it didn't really work out, mostly because there just wasn't a really good spot where the clam was getting a lot of light. But I think with this Aquascape, there's a nice little spot for a clam, so hopefully it will take this time. One thing that I've given a lot of thought to when designing this new Aquascape is how the corals are going to complement each other in terms of color and shape. So I actually spend a lot of time designing the colorscape and the color palette and trying to place corals with complementary colors next to each other. And I will need to provide the corals with the right par in order for them to have the best colors that they could have. And when I measured the par in my tank, I was very happy to see that everything was really even. There wasn't any hotspot issues as I had previously. So I'm very happy right now. Currently the radions are running at 71% and everything is above almost everything is above 250 with several corals in the center near 300. And the goal is to slowly ramp up the radions to about 80%, and I think at 80% almost everything is going to be above 250 with most of the corals being in the 300 range. And then I'm going to slowly bring up the lights and just monitor and assess the corals and make sure that I'm not like burning them. But continue increasing the lights until I see colors that I want to see. Before we do the top-down tour and I get to show you all the new cool SPS frags that I picked up, I just want to give a shout out to two people. First, Thang from GTAReef.ca. Thang has an amazing SPS system, and several of my old Acropora colonies actually came from his tank, as well as a couple of new frags that I recently picked up from him here. I also want to give a shout out to Ro from TorontoCoral.ca. He also has a really impressive tank and a very impressive SPS collection. So do check out their websites. Alright, we'll start the top-down tour with a frag that I've had since the beginning of the tank, Green Slimer. I felt that, despite the colors being green, I really like the interesting growth patterns. And it is nice to have a Green Slimer. It's kind of a standard. Next up is WWC Little Red Ferrari. I really wanted to have more red corals in my tank, and I'm hoping this will fit the bill with its reddish, deep purplish color and yellow tips. So should be really interesting to see when it grows out. And above is Hawkins Echinata. This has a very unique kind of turquoise color with these blue tips, and it really is super bright in person. So I can't wait to see how it grows. Then this tiny little frag is Orange Passion. I had Orange Passion, I had a large colony in my first iteration Aquascape, and it was one of my favorite tanks. It has these kind of blue tips, orange polyps, and green white body. And I was so sad when it RTN'd on me, and I'm hoping that with the new Aquascape and better flow, this colony will get bigger faster and it will have better colors. Beside the Orange Passion is Reef Raft Pot of Gold Millie. This is supposed to be yellowish, kind of like a sunset millipora look, but it's green now. I'm hoping that it will color up pretty soon. Above it, we have a Forest Fire Montipora digitata. Again, I really wanted some red corals, and I think the digitata, despite it being a common piece, does have some very striking colors that I'm hoping we'll get to see a little bit more of as this frag grows a little bit bigger. And then to the left here, we have Reef Raft USA Applejack. This is supposed to be yellowish. I think it's kind of getting there with these nice, interesting purplish tips. So can't wait to see what it does as it grows. And then I had to try it again, Strawberry Shortcake. Again, it's got these minty green body with pink tips, and it's really striking. I've tried it before. Strawberry shortcakes can be a little bit finicky depending on how long they spend in aquaculture. So I'm hoping that this frag will grow into a nice mini colony pretty soon. And above the shortcake, this is the remaining frag from my massive blueberry wine colony. The blueberry wine colony has this beautiful kind of electric blue with white tips. It's really striking. unfortunately my ore colony kind of took over the entire aquascape, so I'm going to have to watch this frag closely and make sure that it doesn't kind of take over things, but it does have a striking color, and I didn't want to get rid of it. Alright, to the central rock, this is Jason Fox's Jolt. This was a super expensive frag that was looking really yucky for a long time, but I'm seeing some signs of hope. Once I moved it to the center here, you're starting to see the blue body, and it's supposed to have like kind of red sometime. We'll see how it grows. Above it is another supposed to be yellow coral. This is a golden jaw dropper. It's meant to kind of have a yellowish look, which another color that I don't really have in my tank. And then here's a bit of my Cali Tort, my blue Cali Tort, and again I had like a massive colony of this, and now we're back to kind of a 1 inch or 1.5 inch frag, so the journey begins. Oh, Kenny's still alive. Yay, Kenny. Another new acquisition is this PC Rainbow. This is mostly supposed to be red. Again, I was missing red, so I was trying to kind of compensate. And right now it looks kind of green. Well, I mean, not kind of, but it is green. And I'm hoping that this area gets a lot of par, and I'm hoping with the intensity it will turn red soon. Here is a frag that I had in my tank for I think maybe 6 months now. This is Reef Marvin the Martian. I really love this colony. It may be a tenuous, I'm not entirely sure. What I really like is the polyps. It's super polypy. It's got these really cool green polyps that are always out, and they kind of generate a lot of motion. It's really cool. It's pretty unique, I find. So despite it kind of being green, I think the motion that this frag gives me is pretty cool. So I can't wait to see what it does as it gets a bit larger. And then here's a new frag. This is Reef Pink Matrix. Every time I've seen pictures of Pink Matrix, I always says I must have one. I gotta get one, and I finally managed to get a frag from Thang, and I think this is gonna be pretty spectacular as it gets a little bit larger. So yeah, we'll definitely look forward to seeing this one grow. And here's my new clam. I think it looks gorgeous. I really like clams. I don't know why, but I always wanted to have one, and well, hopefully this one will live a little bit longer than the Maxima that I tried before. This is not a Maxima. I think this is the more hardy one. The name kind of escapes me right now. But it's actually been living in my tank for about a week and a half now, and so far so good. So fingers crossed. And if you're worried that I'm not going to have a Pacman colony, have no fears. I did keep a tiny little frag of Mr Pacman, Reef Mr Pacman. Again, this was like a huge colony that was sitting on my sand bed. And again, I'm still keeping it on the sand bed because it does so well there. So we'll still have a little bit of purple and green Mr Pacman on the bottom. And right beside it is a frag that is just looking like $1 million, but you know, it's only $30-40 when I bought it. This is Major Lazer. I think it just looks really cool. The shape, the formations, the red polyps, it's pretty striking. So I can't wait to see this one grow as well. And then to more to the right is the TNT, Jason Fox TNT Anacropora. This is, I think, probably one of my favorite colonies right now. It's just so whimsical. And it is fairly large, so I'm going to have to be on top of it and kind of frag it. And I'm planning, as I'm fragging it, to kind of keep this radial shape because I think it looks really cool. And the colors are just fantastic. I mean, this nice deep orangey red, which you don't really see in other SPS. And here on the bottom is Jason Fox Flame. I feel like this one would benefit from a little bit more par, and part of my plan of increasing par is to get this colony to around 250. And then above it is another coral that I tried to keep before. It's the Tyree Pink Lemonade. It's this kind of, well, as the name suggests, it's this lemonade yellowish body with pink polyps. Hopefully this one will take. Again, I tried I think maybe twice before, and for some reason it never grew from me, but I have better hopes this time around. And to the side we have Bonsai Valida. Again, this was a massive colony that was on my center rock, which I got rid of, and I've kept this tiny little frag for myself. Despite it being a common coral, it does have a unique kind of color scheme of these deep purple body and green neon tips. And finally, here's the last trio of Acropora in my tank. Here we have Reef Raft Pink Cadillac. This was a massive colony, like I think maybe a 1.5 by 1.5 feet, and all that's left of it is this small little chunk. Above it is Reef Raft Rainbow Loom. It's mostly green with these kind of cool pink tips. And the last Acropora in my tank is the electric Myagi Tort. There's no way I was going to get rid of this one, but I do have to stay on top of it because it does have a tendency to grow really quickly. So there'll be lots of frags coming soon. So there you have it, 24 different species of Acropora and SPS, and the goal is to try to get every single one to look the best that it can in this tank. This might require moving things around, but we'll see. I this time around in this new reboot of my tank, I'm really gonna try to go for amazing colors. Not just kind of growth, but try to have the SPS look just like the Photoshop pictures that we see when people sell corals. I want to see that in real life. So we'll see. I may not get there, but I'll definitely try my best. So thank you so much for watching, guys. I know this is a really drastic change, and it seems a little bit crazy that I've took this mature reef and I'm starting with 1-inch frags again. But you got to keep the hobby interesting, and for me, I like the challenge of kind of growing and coloring up coral. So that will be my mission for the next couple of years. Thanks so much for watching. Stay tuned for regular updates, and we'll see these babies grow.